And you could see that it is indeed confirming what many parents these days are saying, because as you are all aware that these days we do homework every day. It's like we are full-time learners. And when the parents who have not done mathematics and science, they see how easy these things are. Many of them have confessed that had they had good teachers, they would be probably have done science and mathematics, and which is the good part of what we have seen demonstrated from different rooms. We saw how to use technology in room 2, led by Stephen, and Dr. Fish was doing what he does best in showing you how to do physics in a much, much better way. And without waste of time, I would like to thank our chair, Maria, who led the first classroom or room. It was a wonderful series of presentations there, and also thanking Krishni, who was leading on the third room, and also in our second room, obviously it was led by none other than, I just want to get the name right, Lyndon Menas. So as we have settled, I believe all the chairs are back, and I want to give all the chairpersons opportunity to give us feedback from their rooms. And we're gonna start with Dr. Kekana. Maria, if you are ready, you can just go on and give us feedback. Just 5 minutes, we're already late, and let's just shoot. Maria, are you ready to can just take us through what happened in the room?
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity. What we had 3 non-academic papers in room 1. The first one was presented by Dr. T and Miss Nalini. It was on preparing learners for STEMI competitions. And we've learned a lot. I want to save time. I will not repeat the presentation, but they are doing a great job. It's a great initiative where what is that they are doing in promoting the STEM subjects. Collaboration, partnerships were key. We learned those best practice from that first paper. And the second paper was presented by Mr. Marumo, partnered with Mr. Gibbs. The paper was on role of print and digital media in transforming Olympiads and competitions. So Mr. Marumo shared with us some good practice also taking place in the STEM space. So we benefited a lot. We had questions related to language. As we all know that we have some learners who are taught in mother tongue. So the STEMI Conference delegates, some of them wanted to know how are those learners assisted, and our presenter was up to the task. He managed to respond in that discussion. And the last paper in room 1 was presented by Mr. Obilana, and it was about developing a language of science through cooperative learning in rural grade 11 life sciences classroom. It was also a great paper where we've learned a lot, and recommendations of this paper were given. There are many, I will not repeat them here, but one of them that I love so much is that we need to avoid unnecessary code switching when we are teaching the STEM subject in schools. And maybe what was interesting was that when will it be appropriate then to code switch in a STEM classroom, for an example, in a life sciences classroom, in a maths classroom, when is it appropriate? So we also have robust discussions there, and those discussions really enabled us to learn the good practice And I think we are taking something as conference delegates to our various institutions. Yes, Chair, that was all that took place in room 1.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Maria, for such a wonderful feedback, which shows indeed that participants have enjoyed. And I look forward to see these good practices that you have learned applied. And next time, we're going to see a whole new things of approach in terms of doing our Olympiads and competition. So, and of course, since each room had the scribers, so we're still going to get properly done, packaged information that is going to assist us to do the work that we do much, much better. And colleagues, before we move on to London, I just want to check if we have any question or anything that could have come as far as Maria's feedback is concerned. But looking at the chat box, there's nothing. And I just believe that Maria did a good work to just ensure that we eliminate questions. And then we are moving on. Our program is packed and we've got so much to do in a very short space of time. I'm going to allow Lyndon to give us feedback from room 2. And this room was actually doing some interesting things. Maybe I shouldn't say much and allow Lyndon to give us a full package of what happened in that room. Thank you, Lyndon.
Thank you very much. I think I rather need a few minutes to recover still from all the energy of that room, because Steve promised a few things, but really he jam-packed the session with all the EdTech stuff and all the apps that's available. And remember the whole idea of getting learners excited about maths, about science. How can we make classrooms fun, for instance, and how can we use the different device or apps that's available to actually make sure that the learners get sort of learn a little bit more with regards to these subjects, but also just to excite them eventually. There was a lot of apps that was demonstrated, and the audience actually had a chance to play along. The first app, for instance, we had the Kahoot session, and Steve basically had a quick demonstration of the Kahoot platform, and we actually had winners eventually for that particular game that he played. But over the years, the Kahoot platform started small, but it developed. And since Steve is also part of the ambassadors for the Kahoot platform, he's actually aware of all the changes that we've got there, like the new styles of questions that you can post learners, for instance, how you can maybe play this in the ghost mode, for instance, how you can use the Kahoot, for instance, to give feedback of assessment, for instance, for learners. So they learn basically on a regular basis. Another app that he shared was the whiteboard chat, for instance. And this basically, you as a teacher have control over what's happening in the classroom while learners are still maybe at home, for instance. So it's very things that is available there. There's the toy theater that he shared, for instance, math games that's available. He shared Mathagon, for instance. Then he also shared, and we were privileged to have Greg Becker and Duncan Houston in the room, for instance, because they developed the My Tutor chat. And that is also more information with regards to maths, how can we prepare learners for maths competitions, for instance. He showed how we can use PowerPoint nowadays to do translation for us. So you can actually do your PowerPoint presentation, but there can be subtitles in the language that you prefer, for instance. EduHub another app that he shared, a lot of subjects available, videos available for learners, and even study guides that's available, for instance. He shared canva.com as part of Microsoft Edge, for instance, OneNote. So as I mentioned, a lot of information that was shared, very energetic, and I think the 50 minutes wasn't enough eventually, but we tried a lot. And all of these apps that was demonstrated for free. And that is the nice thing that educators actually can use in classroom to excite learners, excite them about mathematics, excite them about science. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lyndon, for such a comprehensive report. As you can, colleagues, you can just hear and feel the energy from room 2 as Lyndon led us to this. And this is a platform where we ask ourselves to say, we have all these apps and technologies, and are we preparing our learners to actually be the ones who develop things that are right now at our doorsteps? And it was very interesting to see what you can do with a presentation changing, and as you speak, and then the language it's written down there. I wonder how many languages South African languages would be written right there. And it's a challenge to us to say, as we go back, can we do some exercise with learners to come up with such programs that can write in Sepedi or Shangaan or Venda, to ensure that these people, now they feel that this science is theirs, they're part of it. Now, we are going to move on. It's a challenge for all of us as we go back to hear from room number 3. I can see Krishna is already ready to give us the feedback of what happened in that room. Thank you, Krishna.
Thank you, Livawani. If you're comparing rooms, then room 3 was the best. It was the most fun. It was so much fun that we had to chase the delegates away. They didn't want to leave. Okay, so room 3, Dr. Derek Fish did a demonstration, Beyond Facts, Finding Fun in Physics, and it was definitely fun. And anyone who know Derek know his presentations are always inspiring and interesting and fun. So Derek took us through interactive simulations on the PHET platform, and he showed us how it's all downloadable, and he did several demonstrations of physics concepts, and they were all very interesting. He showed us how it is a dynamic tool. You know, you could manipulate variables and quantities, and showed us how important the visual is, especially in physics where you're teaching abstract concepts. He did stress, however, that, you know, even though these interactive simulations are so helpful, it is a tool, it's very useful, but it cannot replace hands-on work or the teacher. And it definitely has a place. Even though it doesn't replace the teacher, it can enhance teaching and learning. So if you didn't get to see Derek's presentation, please go to the website, but most importantly, please go Google PHET, go and play around and do some amazing fun things. You can go find out what your mass is going to be and what your weight is going to be on another planet. So it's really exciting stuff. The only way I can tell everyone about it is that they have to go and try it out themselves. So Livawani, let me leave it there. I would just to say that Derek just increased his fan base again. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Krishna. And we are doing very well on time here. We still have some few minutes that as we are preparing for the next session in our program, I think we can use this time to engage each other. There are no questions that are coming except that people are looking for the material. I think the excitement now, it has stimulated some interest, probably to those who were not in different rooms. I think here's someone, Patty Sitole, looking for if the platforms to excite learners can be shared. So I hope that will be arranged so that all the material or available platforms are made available to the participants. So,
sorry, everyone, sorry, can I
yes.
disturb you? It's Krishni. There
Yes.
is a question from Eric for Derek. I'm not sure if Derek's still around. We didn't get a chance to take this question because of time.
Okay,
so it's in the Q&A.
There's a question here from Eric Mapumulo. It's directed to Dr. Fish. Dr. Fish, are you there?
I am, yeah.
The question is saying, I wanted to know what will be the best way of introducing a particular concept if you happen to access to the 3 scenarios, that is lecture room environment, access to PHET simulation, and physical lab at your institution. Briefly, how should you start with introduction? Do you think learners who were exposed to PHET simulations will be at the same level with learners who did physical experiments? That comes from Eric. Fish?
Okay, that's a really good question. You hearing me?
Yes, you can answer.
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And of course, people are, I go to Institute of Physics conference every year, and physics educationalists are still discussing what will work the best. There's a guy called Professor Eric Mazur, who's actually speaking next week at SAIP, who's researched this for many years. So it's difficult to say. I always say hands-on is best. But the point is, for most teachers, if you've got a class of 40 plus pupils, hands-on is meaningless if you've got a group of 10 children around an experiment, because then only 2 can use it. So 40 pupils would need 20 sets of equipment, all working, all set up. Most schools just don't have the capacity to do that. But I encourage teachers, I think the best thing to do is a good teacher-led demonstration, and that can be done interactively. Pupils can come up and take part, they can record data, they can do all the calculations, graphs, etc. And then if you don't have any equipment at all, like I showed off the photoelectric effect sim, it's a very difficult and expensive experiment to do, then make sure at least you do it with PHET. What's really important as well is in our presentation, we mustn't simply show the children everything that's going to happen, because part of science is hypothesizing and saying, I think that if we do this, the following will occur. So we should actually allow them some chance to discuss in groups or with the teacher before we go ahead and show them. And again, research has shown that if they are just allowed that chance rather than just shown the outcome, the learning is increased dramatically. The other thing is different groups. My PhD study was looking at urban, township, and rural schools and how they responded to demonstrations, simulations, explanations, different media of teaching, and it was different in each group. So it's difficult just to say one size fits all. Again, because physics is difficult to visualize, the more different ways you can use to explain it, the more likely it is that a diverse class will all end up understanding it. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Dr. Fish. I hope Eric is happy now. He got the answer, and many other participants. We also have a comment here from Kenneth Monjero, who is just showing appreciation and thanking all the presenters for great presentations and the great sessions that we are having. He's sending from Kenya. It's one of our partners in the work that we do to promote science and ensure that we bring more young people in this field of science and technology. There are a number of links that have been shared in the chat area where you can get that will lead you to some of the material that Stephen and other colleagues have been presenting on. So do we have other questions maybe from the floor or a comment, especially from our presenters? We still have another 2 minutes where we can do that, as our next speaker, Besson, is getting ready. He's busy warm-upping on the sideline here, getting ready. Fish, you want to add something or any other
I just
speaker?
want to say quickly, all the materials which I've talked about and Steve and others have talked about, people so often ask, for instruction on how to use them. You don't need it. They are designed for self-exploration. And if you learn it by yourself, you'll never forget it. And really, they are so easy to use. They're almost completely language independent. So I just want to encourage everybody, go to those websites and just try them. And as you explore them, you'll get excited about them too. And then you'll want to share them with pupils and with others. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Fish. We have another question from Emma Mphahlele to Dr. Tanya. The question is, how do you keep the learners engaged with virtual or Zoom lesson? As we found that it could be very easily become like a one-way approach when learners are less engaged. Tanya, can you tackle that? Is Tanya in the room? Okay, let's keep that question. It will be noted, and Emma, you will get the answer as soon as Tanya is able to can provide. Any other question, comment? We have 1 more minute. As we do that, I will be taking you on now to our next, which is going to be another interesting session. Next year, we are going to move on to something different, wherein we talk about STEMI support and development framework, final inputs and adoption. This is the framework that is being developed to ensure that what we do, a whole lot of what you guys are doing, good work you are doing, it's informed by a framework which shows you the commitment of the department to work from policy level, because it's the policy that assists us to follow the direction in which our country is going to. So this is our guiding, which we look back to say, what is it that we have set for ourselves to say that we want to do? So on this one, we are going to be led by none other than Mr. Besenlesh. Besenlesh is a known somebody in this community, and he's my colleague from the Department of Science and Innovation. Besen will be taking us through the STEMI support and development framework, wherein, of course, it's clear, it's a final inputs and adoption where you are supposed to make inputs. I saw the document circulating earlier, and you would have by now acclimatize yourself with the document, and then this is the time, this is the opportunity where you can make an input. And with that, I would like to check if Besen is ready for this one, and we should be ready to take off. Besen, are you presenting? And I can't see your slide on the screen.
I'll share it in a second.
Okay. You are welcome, Besen. And then we have Herman Bosman as the session scribe. It's over to you, sir.
Thanks, Leboani. Yes, this framework, it is the development and support framework for STEMI Olympiads and related competitions. Was put together in 2020, and consultations were held since July last year with STEMI and provincial departments of education. Today, we're bringing it to the community of practice, and we want to finally adopt it here with you. So if we, and as mentioned, it was on the website, and we hope that you accessed it and could read it. If we should go back to the address by the Deputy Minister yesterday, as well as the presentation done by Isaac Ramowa on transformation it's clear that we need to respond to what the landscape is about. And Einstein said that it is insanity to do the same thing over and over, hoping that you'll get a different result. And the time has come that we need to do something different in this Olympiad environment. And we, as the department, the government, we need to intervene where the market fails, meaning where things are left on its own. We've tried things and we saw the presentations that the landscape is just not correct. So this is the outline of the presentation. So if we look at the policies, the white paper on science and technology and innovation of 2019 is very clear. There's a policy intent to support a science literate society and a science aware society. The challenge about this policy intent is that many people live beyond the reach of the science awareness campaigns. So there's already, it's identified at a very high level. So the science engagement strategy talks about the purpose of STEMI Olympiads and competitions being to physically and mentally engage learners with STEM. So it's a good thing at the Olympiads. Here are two well-known South Africans, Professor Mawala and Mark Shuttleworth. Quickly, if you don't know, Professor Mawala is the rector of the University of Johannesburg. He's also been appointed by the president as the main person to lead us on the fourth Industrial Revolution Committee or Commission. And what do you think would be the common factor between these two South Africans? What do they have in common? Both of them participated in Olympiads and competitions when they were at school. And these are movers and shakers around the world. Let's go back to the landscape challenge that we have. So it's clear that we need to increase the participation of learners. We are probably 500,000, if we're lucky, participants in the Olympiads, in STEM Olympiads. There are 13 million learners. The work is waiting for us. We need to increase the participation. We need to address the matters of gender, disability, race, and geography, where people are, and that more areas in the country need to participate. And then plain and simply, the access by quintile 1, 2, and 3 schools must be addressed. So these are the major landscape challenges that we are sitting with. So to turn around the current landscape, the following enabling environment needs to be created. We need to build a coordinated system or develop collaborative networks to address these problems. We need to build a problem-solving skills in the schooling system. Problem-solving skills need to be developed. We need to foster meaningful and inclusive participation. We can't just have also thousands of learners participating and they score 0 or 1 out of 50 or 100. It needs to be meaningful also. And then we need to lay the foundation for a science literate society. So these are the matters that we call the enabling environment that we need to create. So we've also identified some guiding principles to be adopted in this framework. To include some of them, there are opportunities to promote the priority areas of the Department of Science and Innovation, for example, astronomy. Olympics and competitions complement the math, science, and technology education, which is led by the basic education department. There are also commercialization opportunities for learners' projects if it's taken to its logical conclusion. There are opportunities for exposure to intellectual property literacy, awareness around IP issues. And then, yes, the inclusive participation is clearly something we need to look at in line of the transformation agenda that was clearly outlined by Isaac yesterday. So if we look at the fourth industrial revolution and the future of work, and then the related skills for the future role of work, how can Olympics and competitions respond to that? And after looking at it, the landscape, we have found, or we are proposing to look at 4 skills sets to be contributed through the Olympiads. And these 4 we have now identified. They are science, knowledge enhancement. Secondly, the promotion of mathematical proficiency. Thirdly, encourage scientific and technological innovation. And fourthly, robotics and coding. So these are the 4 main areas that we want to advance through the Olympiads, addressing 4IR: science, maths, innovation, and robotics and coding. So we're looking at a national coordination model, and we are proposing that lead agents in collaboration with implementing partners must work on these 4 areas. So they are given a list of some of the features of these, what a lead agent and an implementing partner should be. But let me unpack it. These are basic requirements that an organization we expect to have. But let me go to here. So we propose, after scanning the landscape, that the following 4 organizations take the lead concerning these 4 areas. In science, the South African Agency for Science and Technology Advancement, better known as SASTA, which is the host of the National Science Olympiad, to take the lead on science. Secondly, for mathematics, that the South African Maths Foundation take the lead on that one. Then on innovation, ESCOM Expo for Young Scientists to take the lead there. And then on robotics and coding, we identified ISET, which is part of the UNISA, as well as the Tshwane University of Technology together to take the lead on robotics and coding. So our proposal is to have these 4 organizations, actually 5, work on and taking the lead concerning these 4 areas that have been identified. So an implementing partner will then be issued a certificate by the lead agent, but the implementing partner will maintain its own identity. They'll have operational independence. They obviously need to adhere to minimum operating standards. But we have a very open mind around the implementing partners. We are obviously looking at organizations that can implement, but we are thinking even at local level. If a group of teachers in one township want to work together and make a difference for their learners, for example, in mathematics, and they want to organize some competitions and activities for their learners, they can put together a plan, a program, and they slot it in under the work of the lead agents. For example, problem solving in mathematics. And we are open to such smaller organizations and structures coming in to add so that we can reach those townships and rural areas that we just cannot find people to reach. So we have a broad understanding of implementing partners, and there could be hundreds of smaller groups and teachers and organizations that can become implementing partners. So funding support for the lead agents as well as the implementing partners, it doesn't mean if the government is going to sponsor them that they can't get other sponsors. They can have, if they have existing arrangements with other corporate sponsors, we won't interfere with that. Then to get the sponsorship from, or the support from SASTA, that will happen through the grant management system of SASTA. Lead agents will be asked to develop 3-year proposals that must be submitted to SASTA, and these proposals will then become part of a master plan into which the implementing partners need to fit in. And we'll definitely work with the provincial departments of education to assist us in this process. Then we definitely would want to continue the support we already give to STEMI. Those benefits we think need to continue. This very conference that we are in today, the STEMI COP, need to continue. There are massive benefits to this structure and activity. And then we need to also think of, and we consider, an annual national event for recognition of top performers around the country, but also at different levels, looking at from local to regional to provincial to national. But we believe that a national award ceremony could be a good way to go. And then the lead agents should also lead on the way of opening doors to international competitions and legs that come from local legs. Then the coaching and mentoring programs, I think these are very important. We've debated this in previous conferences. And yes, plans need to be generated by the 4 lead agents areas. And we believe, and it was highlighted also by the Deputy Minister on yesterday, was that professionals need to really start stepping up. And we need to get a national database of professionals that's available. And then, yes, they are scientists and engineers and professionals, but I think we also need to provide them with training and support for them to be good coaches and mentors. They could be great scientists, but maybe they're not fully aware of how to translate things down to simplify things for learners at school level. So the coaching and mentoring is a very important component that we need to develop and expand. And then a very important aspect is that we need to know how we get to the schools. Now, the Department of Science and Innovation signed collaboration agreements with the provincial departments of education. And through those agreements, we plan to facilitate the development of annual plans with the provinces. And this would include all the DSI-supported extracurricular activities, which will then include the Olympiads and competitions. So in our deliberations with the provinces, we develop provincial plans, and we agree on what will be done and with the provinces, so that there's no confusion in the system that 5 different robotics competitions arrive at the same school. We want to avoid such things, that there's a structured way of accessing the schools with the full support of the provinces and them assisting us in taking our programs to their learners. Lastly, the role of SASTA. SASTA's role would be to disperse grant funding, to organize awards events, to collect and process the performance data. That's very important. We have performance indicators for the Olympiads. It's part of our work, and we want to see how things are working and changing and track them. Then they will also be implementing the science enhancement role as a lead agent for now. And then they need to provide the logistical support where needed. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. Now, it's time for us to consider and adopt. We've had this framework. We've had feedback from a STEMI. We've presented it to provinces, education departments. And now we have this framework, and I would want us to see if there are any matters that may be a matter of concern, but you've had access to it now for the past few days. It's been around by the organizers. They've had it for many months, and I'm putting it to the conference for adoption.
Thank you, Besson. Thank you for presentation. And I also agree with you that this is the time where the community can adopt and receive this framework so that we may start seeing the realization of its imperatives. So the floor is open, colleagues, for discussion. If there are issues that you have, because this is the day that this document is going to be taken by the community, raise those issues that you feel that they still need to be attended. The floor is open, and you can write also. Maybe you can still use also our platforms where you can write those issues that you may have. And in the meantime, we can also hear from you as to after all the work that has been done and all the consultation, what is your take about the framework? We may not always think that you have some negative things, but of course, there could be something you want to share with us to encourage the implementation of this framework. Feel free to can also raise those issues, which will encourage the colleagues to do the work. I may not see you, or maybe if you raise a hand, I hope my colleagues will assist me and the technical team. I see some comments coming through. One participant by the name of Cabello, I go for adoption of the framework given all the work that was put into it. Kathy, it took a long time to get here. Well done to all those who put this together. It shows the direction in which Besat we are leading to. Now you can calm down. The document is it's getting a good reception from the community. And I can see Tseliso saying the lead agent in robotics are all using FIRST as an international partner. Will this not create a problem for non-FIRST participant, especially in robotics? I'm sure you would have catch that question, Besson.
Yeah, let me just get my thoughts together.
As you are still thinking, you'll tell me, because now they are moving fast. We've got Keswa Nkosana says super progress. We got a hand from Derek Fish Sand, it's up. Let's allow Derek Fish, just hold on. We have a comment also from Eva Mamabulo. Says that professional are available to implement the framework, but we need a local provincial government to work with us other Galaxy A70 say good work indeed. So, okay, they're coming. I will try to hold some. Let me hear from Derek Fish first before Besan, you can answer that question, and then we will couple them together.
Hi, Person. I didn't see science centers mentioned in the framework, and maybe they don't need to be mentioned per se, but I think they're a great channel for getting involvement in Olympiads and competitions and so on, particularly because Olympiads and so on usually fall into informal out-of-school education, and that's exactly where science centers work. You know, SARSTEC has at least 35 science centers in every province, you know, who are already supported by SASTA. And I just want to suggest, I know there are lots of science center people listening, and I'm getting some agreements in the comments. Thanks. Build them into the framework because we are willing and able partners. You know, most of us have been going for many years. We have contacts with the schools, and we'd be only too delighted to help with the rollout, particularly the transformation issues. You know, I think we've been facing those same issues in our science centers for years. So I think we have strategies of getting better representation we could really help with. And we've done it with things like the Astro Quiz for years. So please let us be involved. Thanks.
Besan, you will hold on a little bit.
Okay.
You will just note some of these questions because they are just coming non-stop. We've got Natasha who's saying, with regards to structured access to schools, is it not going to confine us to current and known events and make it difficult for new ideas to put forward? The other one from Denise, it's just the one that Fish has alluded to. Kathy, science centers are included as partner in the various sectors as they are best positioned geographically and resource in the PDI community. I think it was trying to answer or to talk to what Derek Fish raised. We also have Krishni Naidu here. Thank you for all STEMI members who made submission and contribution that helped shape the framework. And we have now, the government must open libraries so that our children, especially FET, have access to internet. Otherwise, there must be increased budget that enable principal to give learners some data to go on internet, especially during lockdown. And yeah, let's stop right there for now and allow Besan to respond. I have noted a question on the Q&A, which we will start with after the first response. Besan, over to you.
Thank you, Ibwani. Yes, the question concerning first, look, we are about getting robotics and coding out there in the schools, and there are many players at the moment. This is I call it the flavor of the month. It's the topic that everybody's a hot topic, and there are many stakeholders and people in the space. But it is for us getting and robotics. It's an exciting thing, and it's like a competition where kids were building things and so on. It's just a wonderful activity. So we're not pushing per se a specific product. It is the process that's important, that access be given to schools, and these organizations are established. It's universities that's driving it, and we are looking at organizations that have the capacity to lead a thing and lead at national level. And that is our way of looking at it. We're not per se approving the robotic companies related to the competitions that they do. Whatever they are using, it is about us taking programs to learners and into the far northern Cape and wherever. And at the moment, these regions are just being reached. So yeah, we are aware of it, but we need to make a start. We must do something by saying that there are 5 different platforms and we need to now sit back is not going to help. Then, oh yes, I fully agree with Derek that science centers, yes, it's probably not directly mentioned, but science centers are they are the infrastructure of science awareness in this country. So we cannot do anything without science centers. And in a survey that I did a few years ago, quite a large proportion of the 35 science centers do get involved with the Olympiad. And we've since I think 2017, we've invited science centers to the conferences. So the science center community is an integral part of the STEMI community of practice. So we work together, and your presence here today also proves it. Yes, the new ideas that may be fall by the side. Yes, again, the point is we are not saying that other competitions will now be ignored. We want to say we need to, we have identified 4 areas and we want to transform this country, which is, the transformation is needed, and we're going to work on 4 topics and we're going to push it heavily. But we are not saying that other competitions will not be, will be ignored. We want to say it's a free space. People are able to do what they need to do. And if they can put together plans, we will consider it. We are not closing our minds to other players. But if we want to change this country, we're going to do it along those 4 lines. And that is what we have decided, and we want to move it along those 4 areas. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you, Bessen. We're going to take another set of questions, and I will request Bessen just to sharpshoot straight, shoot on from the. We have Yeketseng from the Q&A who says, can we kindly have information on the SACE accreditation on robotics and the framework on such bodies as robotic is a new content we adapting in our communities? I think we'll get that answer from you, Bessen. And we have Xavier, who has been having his hand up for quite some time. Xavier, can you just ask the question or comment just briefly?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, you can ask or comment.
Thanks.
We can hear you.
First of all, there's a lot of work has gone into the document, and I think it's great work. From my perspective, I think one of the issues that is a pet peeve for me is the fact that we also need to give the responsibility for to the executors, who are the schools. And I find that schools need to be able to build all these wonderful programs into their learning strategy. At the moment, my experience is that the expectation is that these organizations like the ESCOM Expo basically run with the program. But to me, it should be that, in the beginning of the year, whenever you plan your strategy for the school, this has to be part of that strategy, so that it's not an add-on and not just a participatory event. And that's with all the other programs as well. And it ties in with the inclusivity, etc. We need to understand what is inclusive and what is transformation to us in our environment, and we need to plan according to that. So that in terms of participation, if I cannot participate in the full program, what can I get out of the program that's still beneficial to my learners or to the students? So I'm just thinking that a lot of help also needs to be assistance needs to be given to schools to build effective learning strategies so that we can include this in their programs. Thanks. That's just a comment from my side.
Thank you, Xavier. And I think it's a very good point, because if we want to expand and reach more people, we can't be servicing the same school year in, year out. We need to also capacitate them so that they know what to do going forward as you move forward to new schools and to reach those marginalized communities. Eva's hand is up, and we're going to hear from Eva briefly, a question or a comment, just briefly, Eva. Time is no longer on our side. Eva, are you there? As Eva is getting ready, we've got a comment or question from Nadine. Why are organizations driving programs that only affect education at basic level? Why are organizations driving programs that only affect education at basic level? That is the question, which I'm not sure if Besan will be able to respond to that, or it requires the implementers themselves. I'm not sure, Eva, are you there? I can.
Yes, Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, please ask.
Yes, thank you so much. Mine it's in line with where my colleague has said, Xavier, that, you know, it's very frustrating to work with the schools, because it looks like these competitions, they see them as a separate initiative, not something that will enhance the curriculum. And it's like, you know, when you are in this conference, you are jacked up, you want to go and implement, but the principals are not there to work with you, and it's very frustrating. It's like we're living in a different world. So I just wanted to add on what my colleague said. Thank you.
Thank you, Eva. And I think there's always there is some gaps that we see, but not on the document itself. But I think now that's when other community members or sectors want to come in and also be part of this. And I see that party indicate that, of course, the document is good, but some of us in the department are not aware of it, and the provincial department did not involve us. I think those are issues that we can deal with them on the sideways to ensure that those who are involved in the department, in the province, they bring all stakeholders that are involved in different activities, so that they are part of what is happening. But it's not a train smash, it's something that can be resolved. We also have Ria, who is going for adoption of this. And then we have got Tony, my tutor, target grade 4 to 12 and cover things like UCT, metric, mathematics competition questions. They get to be pretty challenging. I think this was also talking to what part of what Nadine has raised. And we get Muluko Matala, learning is done through the MST, MO, and now we're getting some answers also. Besan, you get some relief that responds to the question which was raised by Patty, and also what Eva touched on. We also have Philip Muchena, who says, can in future try to bring a representative from DBE. I think that is for the Mr. Matala and the team to note, so that the basic Department of Education is also catered, and we can also hear what are their intentions, so that we also don't go parallel with what the basic education is doing when we say we want to complement the work they do. So those were the questions and comments. And I think because of time, and we're not going to exhaust all the issues that we have, but it's an open, normally we work in an open door policy where you are free to send those questions, comments, and all other things that will get necessary attention. Besan, can you just wrap up yeah, can you answer those two questions and wrap up?
I'm gonna, concerning the coding and robotics and SACE, I can't give specifics, but what we are in principle pushing is that all training that are offered to educators should be SAIS accredited. That we are very much encouraging all Olympiads and competitions that are going to provide training to any educator that it's SAIS accredited. That is now, we want to make that as the standard. Then this question around teachers and principals not seeing the value. I think this conference and us every year getting together with the conference and doing research, I think is the place where we can actually, and some of the presentations alluded to some of that, meaning evidence, get through research, get the evidence that involvement in Olympiads get learners to be more focused, to be more motivated, and it gets them to perform better. So, and the benefits of problem solving is it's known. So it's clear that a person that's been through programs organized by the Olympiads and competitions are going to be not only better prepared for the world of work, but they will do better at their schoolwork. Maybe not specifically in certain subjects, but overall they will be better problem solvers. They'll be better researchers. They will be better communicators. There are these list of skills that they will be building up through doing competitions. Thanks, Lebo.
Thank you, Besan, and thank you, colleagues, for all the comments. The last comment that I can read to is from Isaac Ramova. It was in response also on the issue of basic education, that we do have existing structure, formal structure through which we interact with DBE, and the consultations continue with DBE. So it's not like we work outside, so we do work with them. Another comment from Yeketseng, it's just to encourage the way it is. I see it as a challenge to all of us to say that we still have a lot of challenge out there to ensure that the robotics and competitions and other things that we're offering, teachers are welcoming them, even the way we do them, not in an intimidating way, but in a way that they will be able to receive them. And we have got Mr. Matala also commenting on that of teachers and principals that we work with. We have Anonymous. Will we find out how Derek and David are related to Daniel? I'm not sure that one, if it is not that personal to them, they can answer or respond outside, unless if it has got any material thing. And ladies and gentlemen, I think it was a pleasure to host you. You were a wonderful audience and participants. It was indeed exciting to have this framework received by the community. And my take is that the community has adopted and received this framework. We are going to see the implementation thereof. And without any further waste of time, this takes us to the end of today's program, of which it's not the end of the conference. We still have a lot to do with you. We still have a lot of sharing of information and good practices to do tomorrow. You can check in the program that tomorrow's program is still full. We have a lot of things that needs to be done. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. And thank you for all the comments that are still coming. Have a good evening and stay safe and warm. Thank you. We are done. Maybe Mr. Matala or someone who would be having some announcements, if there's any. Okay, it's like we're done. I see a message from Mr. Madala that there is no announcement. And thank you, everyone. Goodbye.